Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Well, it's the pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time, obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to episode 197 of Double Feature Horror Show. I have a dilemma again. Once again, do I do a solo stream with headphones on or headphones off? It just feels weird, doesn't it? It just feels weird. Well, folks, it's very good to see you on this fatigued Thursday. I hope you are well. Hello, Distant Night. Hello, Lawrence. Very stalwart, very loyal there. Hello, Murgoot. Hello, Mr. GB. Not late and therefore correctly inclined. Well, Mr. GB, I know you're amazingly early for these. It always astounds me. This is that famous Antipodean work ethic I've heard about. I should do a multi-stream where you do all the voices. Oh, you could all enjoy the voices I hear. How about it? I think that could work. I've just received a delivery of a dram, so I think we're good to go. This bodes well. So I've seen... Hello, the Alabastard. Good to see you. Glad you can make this one. So there's an issue with this film. We are covering Red, White and Blue tonight from 2010. I think it's going to be divisive, or it would be divisive, if anyone could find it. Now, I expected to see this. Lawrence, who I know is no slacker, was not able to find this movie. The Alabastard could not find it either. I had the same problem. I looked everywhere. I thought, oh, this will be pretty cozy, no problem. The internet these days, you can get absolutely everything. Alas, this was an absolute nightmare to track down. I also had to pop on my bosun's hat and call up Roger the cabin boy so that I could enjoy this. I found a 480p copy, and look, I tried to give money for this. I really tried, but maybe I'm in that sort of Zennial boomer crossover, you know? Some of us Zennials, the most treasured generation. Sometimes we do have boomer characteristics, you know. John Gorris thought we were doing Lake Mungo. We were going to do Lake Mungo. Unfortunately, TCG was not able to make it, and I rather wanted his take on it. So we bumped it. We bumped it so that I could, have the full panel. Maybe I'm getting used to this solo stream thing. I'm kidding. I'm not used to it. It feels weird. Headphones are coming off. Okay. Although, as I said last week, doing this without headphones makes me feel about 4 times more schizo, because I am just talking to a screen. Anyway, hello, Dr. Prepper. Very good to see you. I'm wondering if the Alabaster found the same 480p version I did. So keen to pay for it, but I could not. Anyway, this, yes, Lake Mungo next week. I will be shocked if you people do not love Lake Mungo. I will be shocked. I think you are going to absolutely love it. Anyone thinking, oh, it's a found footage, I don't fancy that. No, trust me. Lake Mungo is going to amaze you. Maybe I'm hyping that too much. Okay, folks, well, before we get into that, before we get into this, a little history, little shilling of this. We're monetized here on YouTube. You can support the channel via super chats. It's always very welcome. You people are lovely with that. Best of all, you can also join as a member either here or on Subscribestar. That is my preferred method, because then I get to reward you back with exclusive content, and you get to vote on arcs, including next month's arc, which perhaps ill-advisedly includes an option of schlock. Now, I trust you folks. You wouldn't abuse democracy like that, would you? We'll have schlock just as a joke option, you know, and our serious academic endeavours will be there, like post-horror, maybe a sort of re-evaluation of Platinum June's wave of the early 2000s, maybe even just a foray into Belgian horror. You know, we could do that. You wouldn't vote for schlock, would you? No. Lawrence sending in a member super chat. One of those wonderful members I talked about. Sterling work. So with apologies to John Gorris, Mia Maxima Culpa. Yeah, it's okay. It's all good. We try and be flexible, and it'll all work out in the wash. Okay. So as you may have guessed, in August we are doing member requests. We're trying to just finish those off. Basically, I underestimated how many people would be members. We're going to do it again next year, but we're going to change the system a little bit. And I want to get all these requests in because they are interesting. I've had some films, requests for films I've really wanted to cover for ages, haven't found a way to do it, and a couple of ones for films I'd never heard of. And that's tended to work out pretty darn well. We'll remember, was it Red Rooms is probably going to be my go-to reference for an amazing film I'd never heard of before. We've got Calvaire. And then there's this, Red, White and Blue 2010 from Simon Rumley. Simon Rumley? It is Simon Rumley, a Brit Bong. Now, whilst it was very hard to find, I'm going to say it was worth it, because I think almost no one managed to see this film. I will give you a bit more of the plot than would normally happen so that you can follow it, because, as I said, I think it was really unfairly hard to get hold of this movie. We'll go into it. This is very much an independent feature from a Brit. Very, very low budget, but that does not stop a horror movie hitting hard. And it's, how can I say, it's very interesting that he sets it in America, because that makes it, I guess, doubly hard for me to work out if he is trying to say anything about America. I mean, chat, if you have any opinions on whether this film was trying to say something about America, I would absolutely love to hear it. Oh, Dr. Prepper managed to find it. Well done. Well done, sir. Oh, the schlock arc. I'm seeing calls for the original Toxic Avenger. Yeah, maybe we could do a compare and contrast of all the films that is getting a remake. Toxic Avenger, my goodness. Basket Case, fantastic shout. I mean, I'm quite tempted. Maybe we go back in, like, was it Morbius, the Brain That Would Not Die? That one? I think that'd be good. Do some 50s absolute trash, something. That would be nice, but Basket Case is a very good call. Okay. I shouldn't get distracted by schlock. So how you will feel about this film is probably going to depend very much on how you felt about Irreversible, the French film from Gaspar Noé. To an extent, I Spit on Your Grave, but not very much. I would say this is like the post-horror version of I Spit on Your Grave, if that's not too pretentious. Oh, yes, Dr. Prepper, if you can't help Lawrence out, I will. I'll find a way to link it, but I don't know if they like me posting about naughty sites. Murgoot, you have my link. Maybe you could break it up into pieces and post it so that people can enjoy it. Where were we? Yeah, this plays out a bit like a high IQ version of I Spit on Your Grave. I mean, the more I think about it, the more apt that is. So if you like, what did we say? Irreversible. Particularly if you liked Shame from 2011, the year after this. So that was a Steve McQueen. Him. It was a Steve McQueen film with Michael Fassbender as a sex addict. I absolutely champion that movie. I love it. And I class it as a horror film because it absolutely, it just gets you with these gut punches, and it presents you a kind of horror that is not like restricted to, you know, hatchets going into eyeballs. Not that we don't love that too. But it really kind of like the very opening of Irreversible. I mean, I'm talking before people's faces are smashed in with fire extinguishers. There's just like a section where these two old guys are talking, and eventually one is talking about how he nonced up his daughter. And you've got this horrible rumbling noise playing. It makes you feel sick. And it's like, it's accessing a form of horror that we're not used to, where there's kind of a horror at someone degrading themselves. A very original, not tried very often. I shouldn't say original maybe, but not tried very often. It's a hard mood to go into. Neon Demon touched on it a little bit. And what was the other one I felt that got towards? Oh, Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. I'll repeat that. Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. That is a very early... Oh, which one is she? She's an Olsen. Not Mary Kate, not Ashley. Elizabeth. Yeah. She is in that. It's an independent film. It's loosely based on the Manson family murders. Highly recommended. And once again, it's a film that goes deep into horror with a sort of focus on degradation and paranoia and being unsettled. So if you liked those films, this could be a winner for you. Hopefully the connections are going to make sense. But it's creative, it takes its time. But I think probably the best thing I can do for you now is go into the full spoiler review so you can follow what I'm talking about. Because I think, as I said, bloomin' nightmare to watch this movie. But I will make the case that it is worth your time. And they clearly didn't know how to like put it forward. Here we go. So here's one way they tried it. Red, white, and blue. Shall I just get the whole thing up there, make it a bit bigger? Like, they're really making Noah Taylor at the top there, kind of. He's got this kind of Leatherface aesthetic. You know, if you think of your 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, his skin has got this horrible mottled presentation here. You're really given the impression from this, like, he is Leatherface, and little Amanda Fuller there. More like Amanda Fuller frontal. Am I right, guys? Huh? Oh, fine. Amanda Fuller is like scared of him and for some reason likes indie bands. Michael Cera looking dude on the bottom right, and you wonder why. Is that an ellipsis over my... Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. By the way, I didn't know, do you guys... we've got quite a few Americans in the audience. Do you know Amanda Fuller? Is she quite well known? It's quite hard to gauge this. I got the impression that she is... Is this you bidding for Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Lawrence, in Schlock Month? Because we will do it. We will do it. Yeah, I was trying to get a feel for how famous she is, because Noah Taylor, he's done a bit of TV, but he's not a big name. Like, these are... as far as I can tell, like TV level actors, basically. Not an insult of them, but that just gives you an idea of the budget here. You know, Noah Taylor, best I can tell, the biggest thing for him was Game of Thrones, where he played a adapted character called Locke. This really gives him the chance to shine. And I got the sense that Amanda Fuller saw this as a actual challenging role, a chance to do a proper adult role and be stretched. And when I say be stretched, do not make any jokes. Come on. I've got my moment already. Terrible. The other way they tried to present it. Look at this. I quite like this. Again, you're getting the idea that Noah Taylor's character is. I keep wanting to call him Locke. Let's try and get his actual name right. Nate. Bloomin' egg. Right. Giving you the sense that Nate is the menace to Amanda, it's trying to put this film in a much more conventional framing that absolutely does not apply. If you picked this film up thinking it would be, oh gosh, some kind of home invasion thing, Ils or The Strangers, you would be sorely disappointed unless you were flexible. Because this film goes into some really interesting places. I do have a response on the saying about America. So let's just check regarding what, if anything, the saying about America. I'm not entirely sure myself. I'm in the same boat, Dr. Prepper. I can't think it's accidental. I mean, where are we? Your man, Nate here. For a start, native born, representing America. When you finally kick into more conventional horror, is it an accident that your boy Nate is wearing the Stars and Stripes? I mean, I don't think you do it accidentally. Is it a character reflection, a reflection of like the kind of guy he is, talking about his background? Maybe, but I'd probably dodge it just for the chance that people misconstrue it, because when I see this, I'm thinking like, oh, Nate here represents America, and also they called him Nate. Anyway, we will get into tricky menthol. Yeah, the first hour doesn't signpost to the last 45 minutes. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So, we're going to the plot rundown, and don't worry, folks, this is a family-friendly stream. So even when you get the signs early on, and there are some really intelligent things here. Okay, maybe I'm over flattering here. In some ways, the film does feel amateurish, but I think that's more production, because the directorial decisions, some of them are great. So we've got our mysterious character in a fairly short dress walking away. We can't see her face. We're wondering what she's up to. She's going to the Horseshoe Lounge, and it's a red light. This is ticking off those irreversible memories, isn't it? You have got some very loud, unsettling music. You don't just like Irreversible. And remember, Irreversible 2009. So this was like, it's very conceivable that they saw that when they made this. Interestingly, the other films I think it's much closer to, all made after it. So, Shame, for example, or Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, I think was 2013. Anyway, and I previously referenced I Spitting on Grave. Obviously, that's a 1978, anyone? Anyway, she's walking to the red lit Horseshoe Lounge. You are presented with mystery, you're presented with danger, and she immediately starts hanging out with a group of dudes. She is approaching the group of dudes, and she's quite flirtatious, and you get a vibe early on, like there is a choice when she makes contact with them, when they're laughing. You immediately go to a close-up of one of the guys potting a snooker ball, as in, first a slight, minor penetration analogy, but also kind of a goal analogy. Like, you scored the goal, you did what you wanted to achieve, you potted the ball, and they are about to pot her. She goes back to an absolutely scummy punk flat. Do you reckon I'll get away with this one, guys? I think I'll get away with that one. Yeah. This is a punk band's flat. You might think they're disposable characters you're not going to see again. They're certainly presented that way, but the fact that all three dudes absolutely pile in on her, I know, guys. Yeah, there's butts. I mean, do you think the Britisher needs to be on butts too? God's sake. That is appalling, John Gorris. That is absolutely appalling. Oh dear. Oh no. Don't make me laugh midstream. Yeah. It is highly memorable. No words have been spoken, but you see her getting passed around, used like a piece of meat. There is like it's grim. You haven't heard a word from her. You are just seeing her get used, and the guys pile on, and it's hard to convey here. But this, I've got to be clear. Unless you have very, very specific tastes, this is not erotic. This is a scene that makes you feel disturbed, worried. You're wondering what her motivation is. You're sort of it's horrifying seeing her basically degraded like this, and she follows this by going home from the bar. Where are we? Oh, I don't have it. Oh, butts. We see a walking shot of her boots, her slightly high white boots. So the boots are kind of... Oh, I've got the boots here, actually. Here we go. Look at the boots. They give you a little streetwalker vibe, but they also, they're white for a bit of innocence. But they also look very out of place as she walks back across a meadow. Like, she suddenly looks innocent again, despite having just been, passed around and given the Eiffel Tower and who knows what else, Oh. I don't even want to think, basically. Yeah, it's, oh, hang on. Is that what we call it? A devil's foursome? Is that the name for it? I don't know. I know. It's like, the idea of all those three breadsticks all pushing in the homicide. No. Dear. Oh, this sounds like the prawn/grow house scene out of Harry Brown. Yes, decidedly unerotic, decidedly disturbing. But you've also got this dissonance that, aside from the fact that they don't speak and the angles are a bit weird and the music is quite intense, a la Irreversible, you aren't given very explicit direction of how to feel, versus Harry Brown was like making darn sure you felt freaked out by it. Oh gee, that's what we're calling it. I mean, I'm torn between Devil's Foursome and an Airtight, the Harwood Special. I think. Oh no, that's all dudes. That's all dudes. Never mind. Gosh darn it! If people only listen to this, that's probably for the best. There's horrible comments going on here. Anyway, she walks away across the field, and you've got the contrast of the sleaze with the nature, and you're wondering what the heck is happening. And then basically, you just watch this lovely girl who looks very innocent. She looks very childlike. The fact that they make her return to a playground over and over again, not exactly subtle, but there we go. You're looking at someone innocent getting defiled, and she goes to be defiled over and over and over again. Absolutely unspeakable acts, just stomach churning stuff. And she's also very clear with these guys, even guys who are presented as a bit more sensitive than the punk band, who would probably expect never to see again. You just think those guys are disposable, and they are brought in to sort of get you the idea of basically how extreme her situation is. You aren't expecting them to turn up and hog like the whole middle section of the movie, but we'll get on that later. she just makes it very clear that she never, I'll use the word screws the same guy twice, and she doesn't do friends. So she is just going out dude after dude after dude, like she was recruited into the Marines. And of course we get that contrasted with all these innocent things, and you get the idea that she's quite nomadic. She's definitely, as you'd expect, not keeping it together, unlike, say, Michael Fassbender's character in Shame, who is keeping a very, how can I say, he basically, under extreme pressure, is keeping a very respectable role and is like boiling over with pressure because he can't really satisfy his needs, and it's tearing his life apart. In her case, she just lives an extremely chaotic life. She is just she manages for a while to keep her bored by just cleaning at a place, and then moving. Eventually she does get a job when she has to, but she's extremely standoffish. This is where we get maybe a little bit more of a predictable bent, although I was slightly unsure. We're introduced to Nate in the lodge, a fellow lodger, which is a good way to get you to meet him. Nate tells you straight off with a very intense monologue that oh, hang on, sorry. Where we go? Worse than Nymphomaniac Parts 1 and 2. I have actually not seen it. I don't mind Lars von Trier. I don't have passionate feelings in any direction. I probably need to see a bit more of him. But I looked at the runtime for Nymphomaniac, and it was it 4 hours for the 2 parts? And I thought, that's a big time investment. I probably should just see Antichrist and Melancholy and then decide if I want to go further, because a 4 hour Nymphomaniac, and that's a lot of Shia LaBeouf to put someone through, and Dr. Pepper saying, I actually found this actress quite charming in the role, and despite of how deeply flawed her character is. Yeah, absolutely. So he was and still is a bit confused as to how much, if any, sympathy we're supposed to feel. I think the film is very determined to not direct you. It does leave you to make your own decision and have your own feelings towards it. And I wouldn't say it steers you much until the very end, but even then, it hits you with the most morally questionable one first. So there we go. Anyway, yeah, it's well played. She is not an absolute, damsel in distress. She is complex. She's a very wounded person who's very defensive and keeps things to herself. Yeah, it's a really good performance, and it's a very vulnerable one. The House That Jack Built is essential viewing. I've heard good things, but I think I've probably mentioned here, I can watch horrible things happen to humans, but I'm terrible at anything happening to animals. And I've heard about a particular scene, and that has kept me from watching it. Maybe if I don't know, if I see that particular scene coming up, maybe I'll just hide away, skip it 5 minutes or something. It's probably what I need to do. Okay, yeah, so we meet Nate. He's in the lodge, and Nate basically starts off telling her what an awful person he is. He was sweet and charming outside. He was polite. He did a very, to my mind, typical Southern thing of just being polite and respectable and approachable and holding manners high. Something I quite admire about Americans from the Southern states. It's a very nice habit, I think. Excuse me, quick drink of water there. Lovely stuff. But then she comes to him and challenges him, and he sort of hits her up immediately with, like, she's asking why he was nice to her, and he starts telling her a tale about horrible animal torture that he did, and how he was caught, but he wasn't sent to a psychiatrist, and his mother, in response, gets him a kitten who he looks after. This is a very ambiguous scene. I was very unsure early on, thinking, like, is this just edgy boy stuff? Where's this going? But again, you're not massively directed. I think you are left confused over whether he genuinely is reformed. Yeah, so he's... And I think the implication is he's nice to her because he has gone very hard into dark stuff and knows he has that capacity, but he chooses to be caring. And he's ended up with a sort of reactionary, protective instinct as a result. Now, I was not sure, is this going to be like something where he flips on her? Is he going to be the threat like the posters imply, or is this going to be a sort of two damaged people coming together love story? I'm very fond of that. I'd go for that. Lovely stuff. They do later sort of make it clear where it's going to go, but you also have these really interesting scenes where he appears to get her a job where he works at I guess their equivalent of a B&Q? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, B&Q in this case, Boobs and Quim. She immediately starts sleeping with any co-worker around. You know, she's already rejected him. Oh, the ladies love it, Lawrence. Yeah, they absolutely love it. Yeah, so she goes into this Home Depot type thing, B&Q type thing, starts sleeping around. Her thing of, I want to say sleeping around, yes, I am being generous, tricky mental. She's going into the bogs and, you know, getting absolutely plunged. Disgusting. And you've got this, you frequently see through Nate's eyes from a long shot, her going in. And again, you just get this feeling of degrading. We've had a scene where she shows a heck of a lot. And then all these other scenes are just sort of distant and clinical and depressing. You know that she's just going to let herself be used up and you're wondering why. Yeah. And kind of predictably, her habits are not taken well. In short order, she's dragged into Home Depot by this Mexican dude who presumably had a go and wants a second go and isn't really listening to her kind of, how would I describe it? Like, I can do what I want philosophy. Like, she hits a bit of real world, like, you are playing dangerous games with dangerous people. And if you do this, it's going to go badly. Like, you just, I think we've seen her plowed by about 8 or 9 people by this point, and like, including some like very prissy, like this prissy accountant dude who's wonderfully off-putting, won't sleep with her without a condom, and she bails because of that. That's actually quite an important scene, that she bails because he insists on a condom, and then immediately seems to go and shag the doorman, or rather, the doorman shags her, and probably looks to be a bit of a back doorman, if you get my meaning. Anyway, this inciting incident is a bit of a pivot in the relationship, because Nate will watch her do her thing, but at this stage where she's actually getting attacked, he steps in. He grabs a hammer, goes and does the thing. Oof. Now, this is a really low budget movie, so we see absolutely nothing. It's just we get an impression. He goes in, frees her, grabs a guy. She is shaken up, but refuses his attempt to comfort her afterwards. There's a really nice shot. I don't think I have a clip of it, unfortunately. No, I don't. Gosh. There's a bit where she's sort of shaking. He tried to comfort her, and she's just sitting, crying, kind of like she post-cry. And once she's refused his comfort, he walks off out of the massive bay doors where the light is hugely overexposed. And I think deliberately, because as he walks off, the light sort of occludes him. And it's like he literally dematerializes, like a kind of sign of, well, that was your last hope. That dude could have saved you. Yeah, it was really nice, really nice. Like I say, there are some really good shots in this that have a bit of symbolism. But she starts to warm up. Like, we get these little scenes that are hints, like she's clearly calling home a lot. She may have a relationship, blood relation to a boy she meets in the park and tries to take a bit of a mothering role too. It seems to be like that. It's very unclear. Oh, where was I going with this? And we see her sort of keep this scrapbook of Polaroids, which after you assume are just like people who've banged her, and then a notably quite old looking photo at the start of it, which is an interesting clue to describe what's going on with her. Anyway, she starts opening up a bit to Nate. She cuts up the Polaroids. She asks if she can sleep in the bed, and he's unexpectedly very sensitive. He's like, look, if you sleep in the bed, I'm probably going to, I am going to touch you. That's going to happen. Hard to avoid in a small bed. Are you going to be okay? You're not going to freak out. And she's like, oh, it's okay. It's a lovely tender scene. And he leans over and he's like, can I ask you a weird question? And then the film absolutely hits you with an out of nowhere act that I think would probably be the problem for everyone. We lose these guys. We lose Erica, we lose Nate, and we spend, what do you reckon, guys? Half an hour? It feels like about half an hour just with Frankie, the dude from the band. Yes, Tricky Menthol. Tonal whiplash. Absolutely. Total tonal whiplash. I'm going to be quite complimentary over this movie, but Frankie seemed like he was delivering lines for a different tone. Like he was delivering things in a slightly more like high Michael Cera kind of vibe than everyone else, and it was quite weird. Yeah, so instead of learning a bit more about Erica and Nate's question, we're with Frankie for about half an hour. Frankie and his band, who we are meant to care about. It's a tough job. It's a very tough job. Frankie may be the most retarded character on screen. That includes Corky. Well, I'm not sure Corky. I wasn't trying to be too harsh, but when I thought of I Spit on Your Grave, there is the what do we say? Very slow character who adds like an extra level of disturbing when he participates in the gang abuse of the protagonist. Is his name Corky? I don't know. Anyway, I sort of thought of him because he seems like a very stupid character. I need to know who is Corky? What am I missing? I'm totally missing something, aren't I, guys? Is this an American reference I'm not getting? You got to be please be patient with me. I'm British, So we get Frankie's backstory. He has a troubled relationship with a wife, which I thought was quite... Oh, dear. I struggled to care about it, but it was also very funny. He's got his mother who is ill with the cancers, and so he cares about her. So you're seeing he's a complex character. Oh, that's who Corky is, a retarded character from the TV show Life Goes On, right? I don't know it, I'm afraid. All I know is paying an insane amount of tax. That's what we have instead of good TV in Britain. Just tax. We just watch Keir Starmer literally bust in and take from our wallets. That's our evening entertainment. He's very quick, you know. Very quick. Anyway. So we've got the bit of the sympathy. He is kind of an a-hole. He did some pretty grim stuff. He's in the leftist scene, but he cares about his mum. It is really hard to care about this stuff, I'm going to say. And we know he might not get on with his dad, but he donates blood to his mum, etc., etc., etc. I don't know how much to put you guys through on this, but you get a sort of interesting scene where he's split up from his nice blonde girlfriend because she was cheating on him, and they meet in like a public restaurant, outdoor patio area, and he kind of puts out, she says like, I'm sorry for cheating on you, Frankie. And he says, yeah, it was kind of a D-bag move. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're so aggressive, and storms off. It's weird, weirdly accurate. The verisimilitude is impressive. Struck me as kind of funny. They have a very on and off vibe. I did find it kind of hard to care, although you see what they're doing with it. It was an absolute woman moment. Really, the whole, yeah. That was a bad thing to do. Oh my God, why are you making me so bad about it? Imagine what it's like in a lesbian relationship, Dr. Prepper, I tell you. Anyway, I'll move on. So, I don't want to burden you with this too much. The key point of Frankie and why we are spending so much time with him is that in the course of donating to help his mama, he discovers that he's got the HIV. That's right. All those British late night TV spooky 80s commercials came true. It's not absolute propaganda. It really could be anyone who catches it. And he has, through one night, piling into Erica. Oh dear, 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 dear. Yes. Yes, it's like 1,000 bees had swarmed on her. How many of those bees caught the HIV, you know? Terrible, terrible. Should have focused on another Erica. Am I right, boys? Anyway, we'll move on. So Frankie's got the HIV and has likely passed it to his mum. He's furious. When he gets the news about being positive, you get the cut over to him macking on his blonde girlfriend. The implication that he is going to pass it on to her, or he doesn't actually care. You know, did he know? Did he not know? This isn't explained, but it's one of those intricacies of the film. It's quite nice. Now, Tricky Menthol raises an interesting point, but his mates were fine. This was a line that, well, hang on. If we think back to a certain horrible film from, was it 1994? Larry Clark's Kids. Another film that does amazingly for using sexuality to make you feel absolutely degraded and vile. That relied on the incredibly improbable, basically, PIV transmitting. I'm trying to sort of like keeping it concise. Basically, the chances of him catching HIV from her are borderline non-existent. Not impossible, but it's extremely low. I mean, it's realistic that his mates wouldn't have caught it, but he wouldn't have caught it either. You know, the your big problem there, and also him macking on his girlfriend. She isn't going to catch it. She's not going to catch it from a kiss. This is exchanging saliva, not likely to pass it at all. Your real problem is basically, you know, crossing over into the bloodstream, which you are very unlikely to get from any kind of PIV, but it's going to be the back door is going to get you. You know, this is why, I know I'm a bit nerdy about this. You know, we all need a hobby, but you are not going to, this is why the old 80s campaigns of it could be anyone, they're ridiculous, and the data shows it out. You get transmission from far more likely from activities which risk a crossing over of the blood barrier and the delicate tissue inside. I was going to come up with a horrible phrase, but let's just say in the back passage, that is where you're likely to get a rupture and expose the bloodstream to contaminants. That is why it is pretty much a homosexual male problem and just non-existent in lesbians. Just non-exists. So there we go. There we go. I mean, we're sort of trying to do the Daniel Hall. I appreciate the contribution. I don't know if we want to do like the logistical likelihood of was he refusing to queue? That may have been his downfall, you know. Anyway, it's a plot point that rankled me a little bit. Kids did the same thing. It's highly unlikely, but I guess they've pitched him as the you know, the rare guy who can catch it. But anyway, and also the doctor makes he sees a HIV consultant who's actually fairly pretty good, and gives him the facts that actually very, very manageable these days, to be honest. So anyway, I've probably spent far too long talking about HIV. That's not what you wanted from a horror stream. The point is him getting HIV and passing it to his mum, who it is implied offs herself because he's given her HIV on top of the cancer after she's been confirmed to be in remission. That is a spark for him. He panics, he can't handle it. So he rounds up the boys to go looking for Erica. Told you I'd give you a thorough plot summary. I don't know if I'll get away with this screen cap. This is a bit nasty. I'm going to take it back one. The boys find Erica. She's out with Nate. They kidnap her. It's a little unconvincing how Nate wasn't able to see it. You know, he's mentioned by this point in the movie, by the way, that he used to work with the CIA, and you're not sure if he's telling the truth or not. You're not sure. But as we later find out, that's very likely true. In fact, we know it's true. I don't know. He fails his perception check, basically. The members of the band, interesting name, by the way, Martyrdom. You know, is that girl on the T-shirt meant to represent Erica? Who knows? Actually, this is a really fun thing. Daniel Hall saying Frankie's whole personality is a bucket of AIDS. I mean, I think he literally wears a Frankie Says Relax T-shirt at one point. And for those who, I'm sure you're all up with your old gay lore. I'm sure you have all the same interests that I do. That's Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Frankie Says Relax, extremely gay-coded music video. And yes, banned in the UK, I believe, but please do correct me if I'm wrong. If I had TCG on Dr. Prepper, I would get him to read that line you've just put out in Rich Evans' voice. I'd love to hear that. Maybe we can rig that up with AI. Right. The boys get Erica. They drag her back to Frankie's house. And that is where the movie, I think, struggles a bit. It struggles a bit. You're not sure what's going to go on. Erica looks sort of... Interestingly, she does not look that scared. She's nervous, but she's not freaking out. Like, it's almost like she doesn't care what happens to her. And, you know, I couldn't help but think of the... what's his name? The protagonist in Kids by Larry Clark. I mentioned it earlier. Same actor who did that as like a 12-year-old rocks up in The Wire later. It's very weird. Mostly in the first season, but he's Bubbles' mate. Anyway, mustn't post about the wire. So they kidnap her. They don't really have a plan, and they just basically accuse her. Do you know you're HIV positive? Do you know? And she's like, yeah. And they ask her, like, why? Like, I think she's clearly doing it deliberately. The fact that she insists no one wears condoms. Clearly she does want to spread it. She is a bug gifter. She is trying to pose anyone with the low moral standards to just shtup a random woman. She actually goes out of her way to give kudos to this chap, who is, we find out, is the only family man. He's got a wife and a kid, and he's the only one who did not partake. Which makes it, this is your sort of first bit of real clarity of what her motivation is. She does want to infect them. She does want to punish anyone who would just treat her like a piece of meat. And then they ask her why, and she says, she basically drops that she was abused as a child very severely by her mother's boyfriend. Very common, by the way. Your most common suspect, non-biologically related male brought into the house. Most likely offender, to be honest. So they're doing their research. This is sort of her chance to shine. It's a difficult monologue. She talks about basically she was 4 when that happened, and ever since that, basically doesn't care about anything. Compared to that, nothing is really that bad. So she's become very nihilistic but also protective because of the damage it was done. The film then gets really, like, usually that would be kind of a climactic scene, like, oh, she's revealed the trauma. Yeah. This part I thought, okay, but still kill her. You're like, it's, the film is trying to throw you a bit of a moral dilemma, like, oh, she's doing horrible, horrible things, but she's, she's also a victim. She's very messed up. Where do you feel? I'm like, you still got to report her. Like, she's going around spreading this thing like she was a French airline attendant. Am I right, boys? The film then gets really interesting because that is not the end. It would usually be, in a typical film, the big revelation, the big tears, think Good Will Hunting, right? Yeah. Good Will Hunting, just the emotional outburst. Finally, the stony, wisecracking exterior goes, and she's all blubbing and talking about it. This film doesn't do that. It goes into much more interesting territory. Yeah, Lawrence. Yeah, it is interesting. This film swerves and swerves on what you expect. I'd say the only predictable part is Nate and Erica starting to care about each other. But yeah, this is 2010. Very unusual film. Very unusual. Way ahead of the curves of a lot of the things we've talked about, these trends of disturbing stuff. I suppose Hard Candy got ahead of the game, didn't it? Hard Candy got there first. Great movie. I love that. Wonderful soundtrack. So you then get this really interesting thing of what do you do? And remember, in a liberal society, you actually have very little power. You kind of offer or you don't. Frankie, being a very messed up individual, sits her down. Like, the guys warn him, like, you're not going to do anything crazy. He's like, no. But she's there, captive, basically at his mercy. She's not trying to escape. Like, I think she doesn't mind if he kills her or not. And Frankie, this is quite funny because the walls of the disgusting apartment they're in are covered in leftist graffiti, including your classic Nazi punks, F off. That's on there. So interesting, given that your boy Frankie goes full male feminist. He starts creeping on her. He's like, oh, hearing that, I just want to hold you and tell you everything's all right. It's as creepy as you think it is. It is super creepy. and you know what's coming. It's not like Nate. It feels different. Once she's let the barrier down and he's been able to touch her, yeah, it's extremely cringy, Dr. Prepper. It's so hard to watch him because you know exactly what does Gad Sad call them? Creepy effers? Yeah, he absolutely simps. He tries to be Captain Saberho, but he's trying to be a sneaky effer. Like, no, that's ignorant. Let me hug you. Let me support you. And it's a very short step from that to like the most awkward. She's absolutely passive. You know, he's taken her back to the grotty room, the grotty mattress, where it all kicked off at the start of the film. And she's just absolutely passive, unengaged. And he's just doing this whole thing to her like, oh, I love you, baby. I love you. It is really gross because she is just letting him do this to her. But then beyond that, you know, she is kind of thinking after this, she wants to escape. Like, I think this disgusting experience prompts her. Like, it's a real push when she's already been kind of thawing, already been taking steps to let go of some of that trauma and open up to Nate. This is kind of a big push to her that actually she wants to live. So she runs out the house. The second she gets a chance, she tries to escape. It doesn't work. He ties her up, and when he finds out that his mum has offed herself because he gave her HIV, then he gets extremely angry. I don't know if I'll get away with this screen cap, but I'll give it a go. This is where we start to see the film head into much more traditional horror territory. You know, suddenly she's a lot more of a classic victim. Tricky Menthol asking, was anyone else just annoyed by his fishing lure earrings? Extremely annoyed. I was furious about them. And the other thing is, you just knew they were going to get torn out. I was waiting for them to be ripped out. You know it has to happen. If someone has that, like if someone has a really obnoxiously huge nasal piercing, you know that thing's getting ripped out. You don't need to be a Cenobite to know that's a key target, do you? Anyway, the boys come back to his pad, find a repeatedly stabbed and tortured Erica there. It's a pretty horrible scene. They try and get her to a hospital, but she dies in the car. That was something really unexpected to me. I did not think that would happen. Didn't expect Erica to die. The film then makes a bit of a weird mistake. We don't see this, but we learn later that they cut her body into pieces, 3 pieces for better disposal. Also 3 pieces, the red, white, and blue. Bad choice, if you ask me. Why would you go through that? I know Murgoot would have had a problem with that. Would have been like, you're trying to do body disposal. Why would you do something that would get blood absolutely everywhere? Terrible idea. But they cut her up for sort of symbolic reasons. You know, I didn't like that bit. We don't see it happen, but it happens. And then the film really kicks into gear. Our boy Nate, who I nearly called Locke once again, calls up his CIA asset. There's an interesting one. I'm guessing the obvious symbolism is that they're treating her like meat, just like at the start. Yeah, carved up, I guess. I just sort of... She's certainly been... The fact that she's been anonymized by the black bag helps. Excuse me, just having a bit of water there. But yeah, you could be right on that there, Lawrence. Could definitely feed in. I went for like the depersonalization, anonymization bit. But yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah. Oh, actually, that pieced it together even more. They're sharing her body like they did in the first scene. Yeah. I did think it was interesting that Frankie kept the head. Like, because he was the one who'd asked, like, can I marry you? You know, he kind of wanted to own her. He wanted the mind control. So he wanted to own how she thought. So I think that's why he kept the head. That's not in court anyway. Oh, bless you. Adam Loves Horror, thank you so much. Sending in $2. Good to see you, friend. Saying, at work, hope y'all are good. Like and subscribe. I didn't even say it. I didn't even say it, Adam. Sorry, folks. To everyone here, I hope you've all liked and subscribed. I forgot that. 1 hour into the stream, like and subscribe. Gosh, you think I was a... You never know, I've been doing this for a few years, would you? Anyway, thank you very much, Adam. Very much appreciated. If you do manage, you might struggle to find this one. I was looking around. Someone did post a link to an interesting website where you can probably get it if you really struggle. But I think it's nominally on Amazon US, but I couldn't get it even VPNing in. So, alas, it's worth it. Anyway, so we then kick into the slightly more standard horror gear, the stuff that is, you know, predicted by the posters. And our boy Nate, and this is slightly dodgy writing, our boy Nate finds a debit card at the bar where the boys abduct Erica. This is what we call a contrivance, but meh, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. He uses CIA contacts from the people who tried to recruit him are still asking him if he wants to come work for them to get details on Cardona, which turns out to be the most sensible member of the band who has a wife and child. We get some super, super disturbing stuff. Yes, Tricky Menthol. It was just laying outside in the car park. Yeah, don't you hate it when that happens? Why does he not notice and pick it up? Because the movie can happen. Will it be? Oh, how on earth is he going to find the people who abducted Erica when he's got nothing to go on? That's going to be impossible. No, super easy, barely an inconvenience, etc., etc. Yes. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. It's a bit of a misstep in this one. I'm sure they could have found another way. Anyway, yeah, he gets to the house. I really like the scene. He just knocks on the door, tries to bluff his way in, and then just is caught over his ridiculous lie that he, you know, oh, I just found the credit card and wanted to return it. And your boy, I think Ed is his name, Ed's wife is like, you found my card. Well, how did you get my address? And he's like, that's a good point. And then just pops her in the face. I had a chuckle. I'm not going to lie. Dr. Prepper, tell me you had a little chuckle as well. Come on. I bet you did. It gets more disturbing. Our man who has chosen to go in wearing a American flag on the back works out that they've got a kid, goes into the room, gets her, brings her down. He turns up to the house with a knife and 3 rolls of duct tape. It's impressively low key, and you just instantly get the feel that this is a guy who knows what he's doing. Dr. Prepper, I'm glad. You love a good punch in the woman's face. You know, it's delivered right. It's a good scene. Yeah, the scene goes into absolutely horrible places. You just know that when the dad arrives, not a chance. Not a chance. He gets cracked in the face with a baseball bat and taken down, and then ends up looking... Well, I've got it here in the screen header here. This is what happens to his nose. We've fully entered the standard horror film portion of the movie. And it's just extremely impressive. Like, it is presented like most of the movie without a huge amount of... drama's the wrong word, but it just tries to let the scene play out without excessive dramatization. It's done by people acting like he acts like he's bored of it. The music is a bit low key, as I recall, and the scene is just playing out in horrible daylight, kind of like the finale of The Strangers, where you're just setting at a kind of boring medium shot. You can finally see the killers that you've been wanting to see all film, and They just got regular faces. You know, the sort of yeah, the clinical is word. It's passive, it's flat, it's deliberately not melodramatic. But you see that this guy just knows his business, and you really believe, you definitely believe him about his CIA connections at this point. When to get the answer out of the father that he needs, he's just like, you give me the answer, I'll cut your daughter. The guy does not give him an answer. The daughter is instantly cut. He is not messing around. This is a horrible scene. It's a hard watch. I'm going to say, didn't feel exploitative. They didn't show more than they need to. It's all delivered with, kind of like the sex stuff, it's delivered in a flat clinical way that just relies on you to feel your own unease. It is excellent. It is excellent. He then hunts down the rest, once he's worked out them, you kind of know where it's going. He hunts down the other two guys. I got a feeling at that point like there was a little bit of time killing, a little bit of time killing because, you got two other guys. Conveniently, they both live together, so you could take them out in one. Come on, guys. Chinatown with Jack Nicholson slapping Faye Dunaway. It's surely a much better chap hitting a woman. Surely. All right. In Casablanca, doesn't Bogart give what's her name? Elsa? Doesn't he give her a slap? No. Okay. Anyway, seems like I need to. Double Feature Horror Show presents Top 10 Women Being Slapped moment. I don't know The Verdict. Is that a good film? Is that a good one? Help me out. Help me out. Okay. Yeah, this is grim stuff, and this is where you really start to wonder, is this film trying to say something about America? Like the CIA operative, he's wearing this, he's damaging the children, but he's doing it, for normally a good cause, but he's getting someone who really is the, the least, the least to blame. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to kind of skip the next two guys because I'll be honest, I had got through that middle section, and I just know, Murgoot, I know you'd have been dying in that middle section. I was dying in that middle section. I was like, oh no, please, what's happened? Please get me back to characters I care about. I don't care about Frankie. Yeah, we finally get to the payoff. You've got to get the top guy. The top guy first, are we throwing him in a vat of acid like I spit on your grave? No, we're not. We, after a fair amount of build-up, see Nate track Frankie down. Oh, actually, there's one thing I do need to talk about. The murder of one of the bandmates. Who he wraps the guy's head completely in masking tape, which obviously, you're thinking black bagging someone. But it's an extremely disturbing visual. I'm sort of sad I don't have it here, actually. But yeah, totally encases the guy's head. Obviously an echo of what they did to Erica, but it's grim. Like the guy is flapping around like a fish, not getting air. It is a really grim way to go. And again, I will keep saying clinical because that is the best description. Nate is kind of passionless about it until he gets to Frankie. Once he's found out it's him, guy goes absolutely brutal. And that murder was the Riddler and the Batman. Is that the latest? I haven't seen that. This movie works better if you imagine Nate is CIA, and this is his MK Ultra programming activated. The killing is all real, but most of the stories are implants. Nice. Yep, someone the ghost of James Burnham is sick of the leftist bands. He's decided that contra Francis Sterner Saunders, the piper, is going to be paid to play a different tune. So it's time for the MK Ultra guys to take them all out. We'd love a bit of that, wouldn't we? Anyway, it's a very niche comment. Yeah, we get to the payoff. You know, this is where, you know, you want to really earn your horror credentials. We've had very efficient money-saving kills. This is a payoff. We need to see Claret, and we get it. You're wondering what's going to happen, and the fact that Frankie doesn't get a chance to speak is kind of brilliant. Like, this adds to the sort of dispassionate clinical dispatching that's going to happen here. But you see Nate draw the knife around his neck, and then he's starting to cut away, and like, oh, is this going to be a head removal? It's like, no, he just starts skinning Frankie. He starts skinning him, and you get the feeling that he was going to pull the guy's skin over his head and off. You know, kind of like the end of Smile. Kind of like that. It's intense. It's well delivered sparingly. We get a little bit of shaky cam to up the intensity and, you know, keep the effects working. To me, they look good, but it is, I mean, it's like a full-on degloving of a head. If you found, what's it called? It's called Gerald's Game. If you found Gerald's Game a bit much, this is an extremely tough watch. It's grim. It looks horrible. The sound is nasty. It's like his skin being ripped off. Oof. It's very, very earned. But having got our payoff in the revenge, you sort of wonder, where do we go now? Well, after that, Nate retreats to the wilderness. And it's very much, you know, your man going back to America, connecting, the sort of, this is very archetypical. This is male soul searching. You know, he found someone he wanted to protect, someone as damaged as he was. She's taken from him, so, you know, she was going to help him be a better man. But in her absence, then he'll be the other kind of man that he can be. But he decides that that is all he can do. But this is a very obvious soul-searching moment. The retreat to the wild, retreat to the wilderness, and try and connect with your innermost self. Very good. Very believable. He tells the CIA guy he's not going to take the job, like he's finished with it. But he's going to be a family man, like he's done the horrible thing he had to do. And he's going to go back to trying to be a good chap. But there's one final thing that the film wants to drop on you. Because there was a question that we finished on. Oh, sorry, actually, there's something I didn't mention here. A very interesting parallel. Maybe it's a bit too obvious, but while he's doing these killings, the music starts amping up, and it's the music from the start when what's her name? When Erica is being railed. And then after that, she sort of, I don't have it, but she immediately takes a shower. We get so many shots of her taking a shower, symbolizing that she felt dirty and needs to clean herself. We get the same red lights, we get the same music, and we get our boy after the killing going into the shower. That nice mirroring of Erica's journey there. He's done his own revenge the way she was doing hers. Anyway, there was one final sting in the tail, because we, of course, before we switched over to the Frankie story, which I'm sure we're all delighted and didn't wish was a bit more, a bit more concise. This little section, before we start the Frankie tale, 24-hour Frankie vision. Before we start that, this ends on Nate asking Erica, "Can I ask you a stupid question?" We get our answer for what that was. A little flashback to that scene of them lying together, clearly him thinking about it. And then a final photo of her and him married. something that clearly took place in the several months that Frankie's story was doing, and you get the impression Frankie's story is taking place over a few months, so it does work. But yeah, you get that little final kick in the teeth when you see that they got married and they were both going to try and turn it around. And that is Red, White and Blue. I'm going to leave that up there. I quite like that one. 1 hour 15 plot summary. It's like Harrian's back, isn't it? I had to go back and check, but neither of them wore rings. Good move, Tricky Menthol. It would have been nice if they'd have just thrown that in for you to catch. Might have been a bit too formal. Lawrence saying, brother, ain't nobody saving her. What, is he Captain Save-Ho? I don't know. She's turning it round. I've got a weakness for this sort of thing. You can call me a simp. It's like I know a lot of people hate Marla in Fight Club. I absolutely love Marla. I feel she is just the counterpart to the narrator, to Jack, who is, they're both very damaged people. And the sweet thing about Fight Club, amidst everything else going on in that movie, is like they both kind of address each other and recognize and accept that they are both imperfect and very messed up by modernity, and they're going to try and do their best anyway. I kind of like that stuff. You can call me a simp. I won't mind. So that is Red, White and Blue from Simon Rumley. He got a fair bit of work after this, by the way. This isn't too much to boast about, because basically everyone, it's like saying you starred in the Vagina Monologues. That is, he got into the ABCs of Death for 2012. Now, if you don't know that one, that is an anthology where there are 26 stories directed by 26 different directors. So if you've directed a horror movie ever, there's a pretty decent chance you were in the ABCs of Death. If you're wondering, he did segment B for Pressure. But it looks like he did a couple of interesting ones afterwards. Like, something that stood out to me was he was picked up by one Frank Mancuso Jr. I know, right, guys? That's right. The Frank Mancuso Jr. I'm not kidding you. Yeah. He's a guy who, the Mancusos were basically very pivotal in the creation of the Friday the 13th series, including, I believe, sneaking themselves into the movie. Frank was a sort of very junior member of the productions and snuck himself on set to kind of be the controlling influence. But I just found it funny that he turned up and he's still working horror. That was cool. So yeah, Frank Mancuso Jr. Gave Rumley some money to make a film called The Last Word. It's a horror curse movie. That was 2013. Looks kind of interesting. And he got some connection with Nicholas Roeg, and then made another one. Like, he's still working. He made a film called Crowhurst with Roeg, and he's produced a few since. So, I mean, nothing since 2017. It's gone a bit quiet on that, but still, he's working. Lawrence saying the ABCs of Death is just one of a handful of films I turned off halfway through. You missed nothing. It's sort of fun at the start, and then you're a few in, and then you just realize, oh my gosh, I've got 22 of these to go. Oh my god. You sort of realize you're committed to a long haul. It's no good. I definitely haven't gone near ABCs of Death 2. Acquired taste, I guess, but the gimmick for me doesn't work. I really liked Mortuary Tales, though. Throw that out there. Enjoyed Mortuary Tales a lot. So what do we make about this? Is this saying anything about America? That's the thing that haunted me throughout this. If you CIA, the idea that the CIA would actually have plenty of use for an extreme malcontent sociopath who could nevertheless be directed usefully, I believe it. The idea that he's being deployed on home turf, I believe it. Makes sense. But I really struggle to put a sort of coherent picture together. So I almost wonder if if it's not actually about that at all, and it really is just, you know, he's CIA because they needed a reason he has those skills. That's what I tend to come away with, to be honest. Yeah. So I'm not inclined to do a big reading of this. It's not going to happen. I think it's more just a effective and subtle story of some very damaged times. You know, this is taking what would be the classic revenge story and just make it so much more subtle, so much more interesting, not delivering you slop on a plate, and crucially, just sort of letting you figure things out. And I think there are issues with it, like the Frankie section, unironically, is painful. Yeah, I would have happily had that trimmed right down because I just never cared about him. Hello. Lawrence saying, I mean, Daniel Hall, I agree. The entire recruiting proof of this, yeah, they want you damaged people. Those are perfect. Someone with a nice bit of compromat on them who doesn't mind getting their hands dirty. They're very useful, very useful. I mean, like your classic Antifa types who are obviously an autonomous organization and definitely not receiving funds directly from, say, I don't know, a slightly hands-off body like, I don't know, Stand Up to Fascism, Hope Not Hate. They wouldn't be receiving funds or information from them because, you know, that's an official charity. You know, they couldn't do that because they work with the government. Now, the government would never want to give money to someone who's kind of one step removed and would then pass on information and funds to a sort of malcontent vigilante group who could do sort of grim work the government couldn't be near. That would never happen. But the kind of, I don't know why I even said that, but the kind of person who turns up in Antifa is very useful for this kind of operation, you know, malcontents. People who don't really care, don't really have big connections and are able to just be deployed at people that they've been told to take care of. Yeah, it's super specific. Calling him former soldier Marine. That is, I mean, we're in Steven Seagal territory with that, aren't we? It's your standard background, but I think the fact that they show him so willing to do horrific violence, yeah, I think that's why it had to be CIA. I don't know. Maybe an American could unpick this for me, but then, of course, this is written by a Brit, a filthy Brit bong, who's just setting it in America. So maybe I'm best to know. But I'm completely confused. I don't think he's going right into it, and it's much more a story about damaged people. We've got a comment here from John Goris, which is interesting. I never watched the old Tales from the Crypt, never having HBO at the time, but just happened to watch the entire third season. The war story Yellow is to die for. Well, thank you. I'm sort of in that position where I've caught smatterings of them, you know, the well-known ones. I did try and do a watch-through project from the start, but the first seasons are very, very janky. Like, I think you start up with this very shaky one starring a young Joe Pantoliano set in a circus. Didn't enjoy it. Basically, you do have to find the diamonds in the rough when it comes to Tales from the Crypt, but you know, it's a pretty good time. And they don't tend to outstay the welcome, do they? Right. So what else is going on with it? Basically, I think it's an interesting step out of the traditional revenge story into something that, if it were released 6 years later, we'd be calling it post-horror, right? If this came out 2016, we'd be like, oh man, this is post-horror, But this is the kind of film that gives the lie to that. I quote this often, but David Church, who is a very lefty academic, has a book on post-horror, and he, amidst all his bias, he is very good at pointing out that basically horror has always had artistic phases, and the post-horror is not particularly unique. We've always had stories that have tried to go a bit deeper, try to be a bit more symbolic. You know, you can reach back to your Night of the Eagle, your The Innocents. You can reach back to. Should we go with something from the 70s? Don't Look Now. Should we do that one? Like we can find something, The Changeling for the 80s. We can find something in every era that is a bit more abstract, a bit more spoopy. Possession would be the absolute classic for that. 1981 Possession. Like if you release that today, that would get called post-horror. But suffice to say, it's just post-horror is just this weird little label that I think has been concocted to try and market things better by A24. But really, like we've always had this type of film that has been more intellectual, slow pace, not giving you the rewards as quickly, and really aiming to do something a bit more interesting. You know, something like this, something like Shame, something like Martha Marcy May Marlene, something like Kill List. Oh my goodness, have I talked about how much I love Kill List? Oh yes, elevated horror. Yes, absolutely. Post-horror and elevated horror. Yeah, I think they switch it around. But yeah, it would fit in there, but no. They're I don't tend to trust the label, you know. Oh, excuse me. Talking for 1 hour 25. It's a bit rough on you. Oh, hang on, there's an interesting one. Polanski's The Tenant. I do not know that one, John Gorris. You are full of interesting. Forgive me. Yes, I am typing right now. 1976, same year as The Omen. Oh, this looks interesting. Sorry, I'm literally stopping to read this. This looks great. How have I never heard of this? Well, thank you very much, John Gorris. That is a winner. That is an absolute winner. I'm going to have to watch this. Yeah. Right. Well, folks, when it tends to be a solo stream, it tends to be a bit more efficient. Also, when I'm absolutely knackered, my brain is already fried from neural networks all day. I don't understand them, guys. I plop them out, but I don't know what I'm doing. Confusing situation. But I think that's basically everything I had to say on Red, White, and Blue. I was impressed by it. There are aspects of it that are most definitely amateurish. There are a couple of aspects that we've already talked about that were very convenient. You know, when we busted out the old pitch meeting, it deserved it, you know. How do I get the first guy? I don't know. Drops his card or something, and then CIA tells him, I don't know. Meh. But I can let that go. Maybe you could have trimmed 10 minutes of Frankie's story to give us a little detail about maybe an alternative way of Nate tracking him down, because I was not a fan of that. Not a fan at all. However, I'm going to say this is absolutely worth your time tracking down. I don't know how Murgoot and TCG would feel about it, but I'm poncy, right? I'm very pretentious. I love a good reach. This is my ball house. So I don't know if I never know if people actually want me to say who requested it. So I'll do initials. NM. Thank you so much for requesting this. I would have never found this otherwise. Even if it were recommended, the fact that it wasn't, you know, it was a nightmare to track down, I'd have probably given up. But because you requested it, I persevered, I found it, and I had a very good time. And by good time, I meant I was thoroughly disturbed for multiple sections of it. So, yeah, there we go. What's the scoring for this? I don't think the occasional contrivances take away from it. I think this is patient storytelling. It made me think of The Proposition. No one quote that John Hurt line, please. I want to stay monetized. I end up a fan of this. It's got to be... Oh, that's a good description. It's a good feel-bad movie. It is. Yes. I came away feeling very bad from this, you know. it feels to me like it's a decent. It's got to be an 8 at least, but I don't know if it goes into a 9. I think it's limited at 8 burgers for me, because my particular bias is for things that I can do deep reads into, and I couldn't deep read this. I just saw a really nice bit of character work. I saw great performances. Noah Taylor was good. Amanda Fuller was really good. Like, she's very restrained in this. Great stuff. It's got to be at least an 8, maybe 8.5. Fantastic buns and baps, obviously. A little bit of sausage, more than I expected. Pickles all over the place. And some very dark ketchup. 8.5 burgers. Where's everyone else? Dr. Prepper, 8. 8, yeah. Good. We got a 6 from Tricky Menthol. Fair play. I know you're a discerning gentleman, Tricky Menthol. I could probably do an algo to sort of normalize and standardize the ratings. Alabastard with a 8.5. Slow burn, bit of enjoyable white trash. Yeah, very slow burn. Good performances. We got another 8 in. We got Daniel Hall going 8. 8 Project Monarch targets out of the 12 MK Ultra Fever Dreams. You know, sometimes when I do these guys, even though this is obviously simply a horror movie review stream, sometimes I think you guys read some really weird books. And I recognize far too many of them. Folks, thank you so much for joining me for another rare solo stream. We are following this up with an absolutely fantastic film, Lake Mungo. Lake Mungo is next week. I think the week after that is a bit uncertain. Okay, so 21st is uncertain. It might be The Witch. We're trying to get Harry on for that because we really want his take on it. He is a Robert Eggers fan, and I sort of want the completion. I want to know what he thinks of The Witch, and I think he was also requested by the member who helped me out by requesting The Witch. Very popular. Thank you so much. Again, I don't know if you want to be named, but what should we do? We'll do ER. Thank you so much for the request for the Witch, because I would love to talk about it. So depending on Harry, we're either doing The Witch on the 21st, or we'll do a quiz. So I'll see how it works out. We'll try. We got to get the Lotus Boys on to try and face the horror of Only Correct. I have got the questions done. They're awful. Maybe I should recruit like a third Lotus Eater, because I expect at least one of them to rage quit. It's got to happen. All right, folks, I'm in the ramble zone here. It's the end of the week for me. I'm not quite at the end of the whiskey. You judge if that's a slow drink or a large measure. But thank you. I really enjoyed this. This was a film I've never seen otherwise. Thank you so much, NM, for your request. This was wonderful. I will leave it there. You have had your review of Red, White and Blue from 2010. You have had a whole bunch of references to other sort of erotic degradation horrors. But if you want those again, I would say Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, Shame, Possession, Frenzy, Dread from 2009. I Spit on Your Grave, not so much, but throw it in there for a laugh. And the remake from 2009. There you go. That should do you. You have plenty of horrible degradation stuff in there. That'll keep you going all weekend, won't it? Folks, I'm glad. Thanks for joining me. I hope you've clicked like it. And if you're one of those wonderful people who watches on the replay, who gets ignored by me every week, you guys are stars. Thank you so much. Please do the liking. Join as a member if you would like to do that. And have a fantastic Friday tomorrow and a wonderful weekend after this. In these going down, yes, go for it, man. And yeah, Lake Mungo, you'll love it. All right, Fantastic stuff, folks. Great Friday, great weekend ahead of you. I'm rooting for you boys and gals, of course. We're inclusive here on this stream. Thanks, y'all. Cheers. Where's TCG to do a run-in and say shill gang? I'm so lonely.